Hello and welcome, viewers, to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. This is Nipasa Pradhan, and I have a very important disclaimer, and that is by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments from users, is not legal advice. So, use of information is at your own risk. So, once again, hello and welcome everyone to another episode on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm your host, Nipasa Pradhan, and right now we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And our handle is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. So, a big welcome to all our viewers joining us from across the globe. And today we are thrilled to continue our discussion on a crucial topic for global business expansion. That's right, the L-1A visa, and this is going to be our second episode on this subject. And we have the pleasure of having none other than Attorney Prashanti Reddy, once again from the law offices of Prashanti Reddy. So thank you so much, Attorney Prashanti Reddy, once again for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm good, Nipasa. I hope you're well.
I am. Thank you so much for joining us. And friends out there, Prashanti has been practicing immigration law for over 27 years now, and you should check her out definitely. Today, we are going to discuss once again on this topic. But before that, Prashanti, would you like to tell us how busy have you been and tell us how much do you have on your plate as far as immigration is concerned?
I've been well. Thanks for asking. A little busy right now because we're in the midst of H-1B cap filings and we have to file all our cases by the end of the month. So it is actually an extremely busy time for me. Yeah, but busy is good, so I'm not complaining.
For sure, for sure. So, folks out there, Attorney Prashanti Reddy is a regular in our show. She joins us almost every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Only if she has two very busy schedule where she cannot make it or she's traveling. But otherwise, she's always here. And so nice to have you here once again, Prashanti. We are going to have a good session today as well. And yes, we're going to cover about L-1A visa once again. Last week, we covered quite a bit. We even took up some questions from all you folks out there, the viewers. Thank you for your questions. And today as well, I look forward, for this session to be a very, very participative one. So don't forget to, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments wherever you're watching this a live show from. So we'll be very happy to take them since Prashanti is here with us. So looking forward really for a very, very insightful session today. So Prashanti, are you ready for today?
Absolutely. I'm ready.
Me too. Me too. And quickly, I'll just say hi to Narayana on YouTube and also to Tejendra on YouTube, Akbar on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining. Stay with us. And if you have questions, keep commenting. All right. All right. So, Prashanti, I think, would you like to maybe just give a sneak peek, maybe, of what we discussed last week and in short, very briefly, and what can people expect from this episode today?
Well, we discussed a little bit about the L-1A requirements and, who qualifies, what the basic elements of an L1A are, and we hope to expand on that further today and go a little bit more in depth with reference to what it means to be on an L1, what are the advantages, disadvantages, what are the special rules for a new office, what more maybe in depth as to who's qualifies as an executive, who qualifies as a manager, just a little bit more in depth about what we discussed in the last session as well, and take a few more questions on this topic or other related topics.
For sure, Prashanti. And I think without further ado, let's dive in right into the questions I got for you. So this first one today is about how can individuals, maximize the benefits of the L-1A visa for obtaining residency, establishing businesses, and even integrating into the American society.
So this is a three-pronged question. First of all, is for obtaining residency. As I said, that with reference to the L1A, it's really advantageous to be on an L1A simply because An L-1A allows you to be qualify for EB1. It goes into EB1 category, and with all the delays with reference to um, the other categories, EB2 and EB3, EB1 for Indian nationals is a little better. It's only a few years backlogged, so you qualify for that category of EB1, and you're allowed to file the EB1 after 1 year of being on an L1 if you're in the US. You can also file directly in an EB1 category even without being on an L1 if you're outside the country. The criteria is the same for the EB1. You have to continue to show that you qualify as a multinational executive, and you have to continue to show that there is a relationship between your parent or the foreign organization and your US organization, and you have to continue to show that they are doing business, etc. And then you can directly file an I-140, which is another huge advantage. You do not have to go through the labor certification process, the placing of ads. That itself takes about 2 years to go through, the whole labor certification or PERM process. And also, if you get resumes, then, in that process, then you can't continue. So those advantages are not there here. You can file directly an I-140. And then as long as you remain to be eligible for an L-1A, you will be eligible for an I-140 as well, because the criteria is very, very similar, almost the same. And once the I-140 is approved, then you can file for a 485 once your visa number becomes available. So that's the advantage from the green card point of view with being in an L1.
Okay. Okay. That is
So
interesting. And yeah,
with reference to establishing of a business,
business.
this is one of the best non-immigrant categories that USCIS has or rather that the legislation has created to
Mhm.
help businesses, establishing of new businesses. Um, if you have a business already in abroad, let's just say in India, if you already have a business, it could be in any
Mhm.
country. And if you want to expand your business to the US, then this is one of the best categories to be in. You also have EB5, but this is better than EB5 because the processing time is much less, the requirements are less. You also have
Mhm.
E2, but that is only for some countries. It is not applicable for Indian nationals. For the Indian nationals, I think L1A is really the best category to expand your business to the US and be able to immigrate to the US as an owner, or if you are an important part of your organization like a executive or manager, then you can be sent to the US to help start up your business or to manage an existing business. So establishing a business in the US is this is the best way to do it, because it's not just establishing it. If you're outside the country, you would need to be in the US, and you definitely cannot be in the US on a B1 visa, that is a business visa, for an extended period of time. So it's like a catch 2022 situation, because while you're allowed to establish a business in the US, you're not allowed to stay in the US, and both go hand in hand. Therefore, some immigration status is required, and this is the one that fits the bill. So that an L1A is extremely important for business expansion as well.
Mhm.
Integrating into American society, that's more like a social. Um, I don't know if it's so much an immigration question. It's more, I think, social as to whether you can integrate into the society or not. But it generally helps you to be physically present in the U.S., be paid in the U.S. If you're earning in the US, and then you can spend, you can buy a house, you can do all these other things which will help you then settle um, in the US
Yeah.
for a temporary period, but for a long period of time, and then segue into a green card. So definitely helps you to
Mhm.
integrate into society as well.
Very well put, Prashanti, definitely. And folks out there, I think you got this answer pretty clear. And if you have questions, more clarifications you need, maybe you are pursuing an L1A yourself or are planning on, proceeding with L1A application so that you go to America with your business. So we are here to answer your questions. You keep commenting wherever you're watching. And in case you're watching this after the stream has ended, you can keep commenting your questions because we have our experts who will be more than happy to give you your answers. All right, so Prashanti, let's move ahead. And I have another question for you. And that is, given the increasing focus on sustainability, how can L1A visa applicants demonstrate alignment with environmental initiatives within their projects? This is very important.
Right, but I don't know what the answer is because it's not really, again, immigration law. And I'm
Hmm.
wondering how can the L-1A visa applicants demonstrate alignment in the environmental initiatives? Yeah, so sustainability is something that may not necessarily be related to the immigration part. From USCIS point of view,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter what the business is, as long as it's a viable business. You can go ahead and file the L-1A, open a business, etc. If you are
Hmm.
um, into a business which promotes environment and sustainability, then so be it. I mean, again, but you still have to meet the same requirements, the same conditions for an L1. So yeah, no matter what the type of business, and of course you're doing good to society by being, environmentally sustainable. Um, but as of from the immigration point of view, they don't give you any pointers or a free pass because you have initiatives, to help the environment, unfortunately. But definitely in the
Okay.
overall scheme of things, if you are a company that helps this particular feature in the US, somewhere or the other, they will want you to do business and might
Mhm.
look at your petition in a more positive light.
Right, right, Prashanti. That is correct, maybe. And but then what if, the business is somehow affecting the environment in a bad way? Maybe then you might not get the
Yeah,
approval, I guess, right?
right. You made, I mean, again, they're not supposed to look at these things. It has to be a business that is legal. So you can't
Mm-hmm.
sell cocaine, right, or something like that. You can sell weed because that's legal. But from the immigration point of view, actually, you can't because it's a federal subject. So even though
Mm-hmm.
states allow it, uh, federal government still will find it illegal, so you can't really sell weed. So as long as it's a legal business, anything that's legal you can do. So even if you have a factory, say, that is emitting, pollutants into, and most
Right.
factories do, right? That's not good for the environment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why certain governments, again, it's a state governments, are promoting, giving certain benefits to companies that are trying to, do something about those pollutants or maybe decrease those emissions. I don't know
Right.
what immigration does. It might be on the back of their minds, but I don't think it'll directly affect your the processing of your case.
All right.
Because
All right.
remember,
Thank you
you're
so
you're
much.
providing remember you're providing jobs, even if you have a factory that is emitting gases, which it will, and affecting the environment. All factories do, but there is a
Right.
positive to it. You're providing jobs. You're providing, increasing the economy. So that's what they're looking at with the L1.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
It would be nice if they
Yes.
came up with a separate category for businesses that only deal with the sustainability or the environment. That'll be great,
Environment
but they don't.
friendly.
Right, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't. They don't have that specific non-immigrant or
Criteria.
immigrant petition. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for clearing that out. And yeah, I think it's definitely a thought to be put onto, though. Hopefully, the US will in future for sure. All right, yeah,
yeah.
let's take up this one. This is on LinkedIn. Ashutosh is asking, How to establish my India company with my USA company. This is from your channel, Prashanti, on
Okay.
LinkedIn.
This is you're talking about Indian law. Um, so you're asking as to how to incorporate a company in India.
And what documents would
Um,
he need?
and what documents would you need? I have no idea. You have to speak to either an attorney who practices, corporate law in India or an accountant. And if you want some contacts, we can definitely send them your way with reference to how to establish a company in India. You could just email me offline and I can send you information with reference to that on who to contact. But I see maybe what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to do the reverse thing for your, so the US company will be a parent company, and then you'll establish a branch office in India. Then you have to go and work, remember, in the Indian office for a period of 1 year in an executive position, and then you have to be deputed back to the US. That's how it'll work if you're doing it this way.
Okay. Ashutosh, I hope you got your answer, but if you have to make more clarifications, we are here for some more time. You can ask more questions about how to go about it. And better even, I think you can directly contact Prashanti. Her details are scrolling on the screen. You can note them down. You can write to her, and I'm sure she'll be very happy to help you with contacts as well. All right. So moving on, Prashanti, let's take up another question that I got for you is how should companies navigate the L-1A visa process, and especially when dealing with complex corporate structures and employees holding dual roles?
Right. Um, so yeah, the structure of the company is very important
Mhm,
in two ways. One is that you have to show, obviously, that there is a relationship between the two companies. And the two companies could be in any kind of a relationship. I mean, a qualifying relationship. So either parent and subsidiary, where parent and subsidiary, I mean, that one company owns the other company,
mhm,
or owns more than 50% shares of the other company, that or one individual owns the other company, owns both companies, then that would be an associate relationship. So or it could be a branch office. So these are some of the
okay,
qualifying relationships that are required in an L1 to get an L1 approval. So within the um, so you have to submit documents to show that the relationship exists. So the corporate structure has to be clearly defined there. That could be done either through a share certificate or through anything to show ownership of the company. That is with reference to ownership, but with reference to the actual corporate structure, that goes through the organization chart. So you have to look at the organization chart, and this is important because when you're filing an L1, it's important where the beneficiary lies within the corporate structure. So in the org chart, where the beneficiary is positioned, who he reports to, who report, who who his reportees are, that is, who
mhm,
are reporting to him. And you have to also show that the people reporting to him are two layers of people, so that the corporate structure has to be organized that way. And the two layers, at least one of the layers has to have, the people have to have a bachelor's degree. That means they have to be professionals.
mhm.
So this is the kind of corporate structure that is required for USCIS to approve a manager or a multinational executive. Now,
Mhm.
this is very interesting. Employees holding dual roles. With
Yes,
reference to the dual roles, in everyday life, we know that, especially in small companies, it's very, very common for an employee to hold, have many hats. The owner of the company himself or herself, and director of the company or president or vice president or whatever the position might be. They might
yes,
have hold executive. They might be doing executive duties as well as managerial duties, as well as some admin duties. So the
true.
key is, for the L1A purposes, is to focus on one thing, because they don't want you to say that, oh, the person qualifies for an L1 based on both managerial and executive
Mhm.
and specialized knowledge. He does everything. They don't want that. They want you to focus on one thing, and that one. So that's what you should do. Focus on the one aspect of what the employee does or the owner does, and ensure that those duties are at least over 50% of the total duties that the person does. So choose something that the person does majority of the time and stick to that. So with reference to dual roles, that's the advice I have with reference to an L1. Don't try to say that. I mean, in the real world, they're doing everything. So, but don't put it down like, okay, so he's doing 50% of this, 40% of this, 10% of this. That'll just confuse the officer and
True.
lead to an RFE. So just focus on one part.
Right. So even if you do, I mean, you're doing multitasking for your company, but you don't have to put it down on paper. Okay.
Yeah, just put you can just say
The
the rest of the
main,
time he does administrative work, but you don't really need to put down the details. Just put down the
mhm,
details of the executive work that you're doing or the managerial work and put in the percentage of
the
time that
main.
you're doing it. The main work.
Cool. Thank you, Prashanti. Thank you for taking that up and for answering that. Well, let's move on to another question that I got, and that is, if you can highlight, the benefits of the blanket L1 visa for multinational companies and share the best practices for filing successful L1 petitions. So, what is the blanket L1
So
anyway
the
first?
blanket L1 is when you if you qualify for a blanket L1 and there are certain qualification requirements, you should have a business in more than two countries, that is more than two businesses.
Okay.
Um, you should have at least 15 L1s that were approved earlier.
Oh.
In which case, and then there's some other criteria, and if you have to file for a blanket L1 petition, and if it
Mhm,
gets approved, then all you need to do is every individual employee that you're sending under that blanket L1, you have to prepare a petition for that employee and just send it to the consulate. So there's no requirement anymore. There's no need to get prior USCIS approval for each employee that you're sending. As long as they fall within that blanket, within the terms and conditions of that blanket L1 that was approved, you can
mhm.
bring several people under the blanket without having to get separate USCIS approval for each person. So the way that it works is that you prepare a petition and you submit it for that particular individual or individuals at the consulate level, and then the consulate will approve or deny it and give them, if they approve it, then give them a L1 blanket visa, using which they can come into the US. A blanket is usually for L1Bs, not for L1As. So L1B is not so much of an advantage when compared to an L1A because they don't qualify for EB1. So you have to go through
Okay.
the labor cert process like you do for a H1. So it's an alternative really to a H1. Um,
Mhm.
and it's definitely advantageous because if the H1 cap is met, then the only way you can bring in people that qualify is through an L1B.
Okay. Okay. And so the benefits of blanket L1 visa for multinational companies is that, they can have anyone under it once they have their petition, I mean, approved.
Correct.
And best practices for filing successful L1 petitions.
Um, Best practices. There are so many, but I have to try and define
Maybe
a
give a
few,
tip or two.
which
Yeah.
is a challenge. Well, best practice for filing any petition to immigration is make sure that you send it to the right address, you sign the petition, you send out the right filing fee, and also do the due diligence to make sure that you qualify to start off with. Right? If
Right.
you don't qualify, you don't meet the requirements, and you start filing the petition and you file it, you're just wasting a lot of time and money. So make sure you meet the requirements, the basic requirements, that is, that you are working as a multinational executive or manager, that your
Mhm.
companies uh, have that the relationship between them, the qualifying relationship. I think those are the two most important requirements for an L1. And of course, your
Mhm.
companies have to be doing business on a regular basis. They cannot be shell companies which are not doing any business. Um, and submit all documents that you can come up with to show that you qualify. Don't just
Okay,
give statements that you qualify, because those a statement is of no value unless it's backed up by documentary evidence. So that's
by
another.
document.
Yeah, everything has to be documented. So that's the more you document, the more likely that you're going to be successful in your L1B petition or L1A petition.
Great. So, whatever you mention, you have to have a supporting document. Friends, keep that in mind, no matter what visa you are applying for. And thank you so much, Prashanti, for giving a few tips for this as well. And so, well, Ashutosh is back. So let's quickly take up what he has to ask on LinkedIn.
Ah, yeah.
I have an Indian company, he says. I
So
do
he,
have a US company as well.
okay, right.
Okay. So he's clarifying.
Okay, so it looks like he does have both an India and a US company. His question was, which we didn't understand, was how do we establish the link between the India and the US company so that
Okay.
it qualifies for L1A purposes. So the way you
Mhm.
establish is to make sure that there's a qualifying relationship established. So if you are the owner 100% of the Indian company and the US company, then you already have the link, right?
Mhm.
If you're not, then make sure you do that. Become the owner, or maybe have one company own the other company. If that's not the case, then one company can buy the other company by just a nominal amount of money, like $1 amount of money, and then you
Mhm.
just transfer the share certificates. It doesn't have to be a large amount of money. It can be just symbolic as long as one company owns the other company. Um,
Okay.
or you can have one person own both the companies. Um, and if there's more than one person in the company, then make sure that they own equal shares in both the companies. So that's the
Okay.
definition of the associate. So these are the few ways in which you can establish a link between your US company and the India company. You might already have that link, but you just need to go through that criteria to see if you do.
Okay, that's very interesting, and I hope very helpful to Ashutosh as well. I think this is pretty much very clear now. How can you go about, establishing both your companies? All right, let's move on to this next question quickly. This is on YouTube from Vivek asking, I have got a client breathing down my neck to get their executive transferred to the US ASAP, and I can't afford to miss a beat. What are the hidden landmines in the L-1A visa process that could blow this whole thing up? And how do I navigate them to get this done?
Well, first thing is you need to do is contact an attorney, because you can only get so much on the webinar. Um, the landmines are really if you don't qualify. If you've been listening to the webinar as to what the qualification criteria are,
Mhm.
then at least you meet the basic requirements, right? Hidden landmines is if they find discrepancy in the documents, if you're saying something but it's not believable.
Mhm.
If you are a small company with one employee and you say that the person is going to work as an executive,
Mhm.
especially if it's an established company, then you'll have a problem there because they'll wonder who will actually do the administrative and the other tasks, and whether this executive will end up doing all those other things that they're and so it's not an executive position really. You're just calling it that.
Mhm.
Um, so these are some of the things that can hurt you without you realizing it. Or the person is working as an executive or manager, but you're unable to prove it. And you're just submitting statements saying that they're working, but you're unable to submit
Mhm.
documentary evidence, just email correspondence, documents prepared by the executive or manager, signed by the executive or manager as, in that job title. um, maybe minutes of board meetings to show that they are playing their role in that particular position. So if you're not able to
Mhm.
submit documentary evidence, or to show that the business is a continuing, thriving business, if you're submitting a tax return and the tax returns are showing losses for the last 3 years, then that could be something that can come back to haunt you, um, because then it's not a sustainable business, right?
Mhm.
Um or if you're not able to show any business or any revenue, or very low amount of revenue, then that could also could be an issue. So there's so many. So I think you need to contact an attorney,
Yes.
and get a consultation for your particular case, and see whether you qualify or not.
All right. Very well put, Prashanti, and definitely Vivek. Do you need an attorney? Yes, you do. It's always best to consult the expert and be directed in the on the right path. All right. So yes, you can even contact Prashanti Reddy herself directly. You can call her on the number 212-354-1010. You can even email her directly. That is Prashanti at reddyesq.com, or visit her website for more details. That is www.reddyesq.com. So, folks out there, yes, if you have questions, please mail her directly, and you can also keep commenting. We will try to address as many possible questions on this live session. And for yes, for those of you who need personal advice, please contact Attorney Prashanti Reddy directly. And for now, we will go for a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. This is Nipasa Pradhan. Are you looking for a flexible work from home opportunity? We've got just the thing for you. Work just 2 hours a day and earn a monthly pay of 5,000 Indian rupees plus 500 Indian rupees for every meeting you attend. Earn up to 20,000 Indian rupees per month. Your responsibilities will include managing social media posts, creating engaging content, responding to messages, monitoring analytics, conducting research and data entry. All you need is your own computer, a reliable internet connection, knowledge of LinkedIn, basic English writing skills, ability to work independently, Aadhaar card, ability to use your real name on social media. Ready to join us? Email swapnil@staffinglyhealthcare.com to apply. Don't wait. Join us today and start your journey towards a flexible and rewarding work from home career.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 732-707-9151 or mail us at rajni@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
Welcome back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I am your host, Nipasa Pradhan. And well, if you just joined us, we are discussing today about the L-1A visa, the ultimate key to global business expansion. And friends, this is our second episode on this topic with our esteemed guest, none other than attorney Prashanti Reddy. So, welcome back, Prashanti. And it's been a very good first half so far. We've been taking up questions from viewers as well. And thank you, viewers, as well, for participating. We have some of your questions. We will be taking them up, and hopefully we'll be able to answer as many as possible. And Prashanti, so far so good. How are you feeling?
Good, good. We're getting a lot of interesting questions from the audience as well, and they're all on topic,
That's
so
right.
it's good. It's great.
Yes, yes. Let's move on. Let's move on to, I mean, with our show today and the topic. And I got this next question that's coming up for you, and that is, Could you briefly explain the different types of visas available for employers looking to make quick hires?
Um, so there's nothing that is quick with USCIS, unfortunately. But you have the L1, then you have premium processing for that, the L1B and as well as the L1A. You have TN, and that's can be pretty quick because if you're coming from Canada, if you're a Canadian national and you qualify for the
Mhm,
TN, you don't have to go through USCIS. You just have to go to the consulate, and not even to the consulate, to the port of entry in case you are
mhm,
in Canada. Um, and you can get a visa and come in on a TN and work immediately. So that's pretty quick. The E3, the Australian visa, if you're an Australian national, also same thing. You can go get a visa, no prior USCIS approval required. So the only question is how long it's going to take you to get the visa appointment. That's the only delay there. So that's quick as well. The H1 is quick because there's premium processing. So it's possible to get an approval within 5 to 6 days, provided, of course, the person is in the US. If they're not in the US, then it could be a more long drawn out process because even though you get the approval, you have to then go to the consulate and then so you have to get an appointment for a visa, etc., etc. So that could take a few months depending on what the processing time is for the H1. So the quickest way is, these kind of visas or statuses that don't require prior USCIS approval.
mhm.
The H4
Okay.
EAD is another way, but H4 EAD does take time unless it's filed along with the H1. Then if it's filed together, then they're supposed to approve both together. So a H4 EAD, if you qualify, is also great because it's not employer specific. You can work for any employer, you can work for yourself. So that's a
Mhm.
pretty good work visa to have.
All right. Thank you. Which one is the quickest, though?
It's difficult to say which one is the quickest. It depends on the situation, what your situation is.
True. And the case, individual case. All right.
Correct. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right. So let's take up this one. This is on YouTube now. Narayana, sorry. Are there any industry specific considerations or challenges that I should be aware of when applying for an L-1A visa in the tech sector?
Um, if it's specific to tech sector, then yes, the challenge is that if you're filing an L1A, make sure you're doing it for a manager or an executive. Um, don't go if a person is more technical, like a project manager or technical manager, IT, whatever, technical manager. If the duties are more technical rather than managerial, you could
Mm-hmm.
face a challenge. So that could be a trap, then a landmine kind of situation, like we discussed earlier. Be very careful when you're defining the duties, even though it's a tech sector. Make sure the duties are not technical, but make sure the duties are managerial or executive. That's the
Okay.
biggest advice I would give because even though you say manager and if you put in duties that are technical,
Mm-hmm.
developing, developing, designing something, doing something technical that a developer would do or a project manager would do, then it may not qualify for an L1. Be careful
Mm-hmm.
about that. They might just say apply for an L1B or apply for a H1 because you don't qualify under the managerial category.
True, true. So basically, for an L1A, you have to be kind of an owner or someone from the higher ranks than the lower ranks, right?
You have to be a manager or an executive, no
Manager of
matter
the
what
business.
you're.
Okay.
Yeah, manager. It could be a manager of a particular department in the business. It doesn't have to be manager of the entire business, depending on the size of the business, right? Large companies have managers that manage different departments.
True.
Or you could be an
Yes.
executive that in a particular department, or you could be an executive of the entire company. You don't necessarily have to
Managing
be an
some
owner.
team.
Yeah, a
Hmm.
team. So you don't necessarily have to be an owner, but you could be as well. So
Okay.
that's
Okay. Okay, thank you, Prashanti, for clarifying that. And Narayana, if you have your question answered, or if you need more clarification, we're still here for some more time. Moving on, now let's take up this next question. This is on YouTube from Tejendra. I am on L-1A and looking for guidance on filing a green card application without organizational support.
Okay.
That's it.
What
So maybe the
is there a
question is,
question? How do I do it?
that's what I am
Uh,
on L-1A looking for guidance on filing a green card application. So if you could just give him a few tips how to go about. He's on
guidance.
L-1A
Without. Well, you
looking to
can't.
file a green card.
You cannot file I-140 based on EB1 L-1A unless the company files it for you, because you cannot file it on your own. If you qualify for some other category, where you can file on your own, such as exceptional ability, kind of person, you won the Nobel Prize or some other prize, or you're into research, and you've published several papers and you have publications, etc., then you could go via the, filing the green card on your own without having a company to support you. Otherwise, it's not possible.
Thank you. Thank you for taking that up. And Tejendra, yeah, that is your answer. Let's move on to the next one. This is from Amarjeet. I am on L-1B visa. What are my options to file for a green card? If I am, if at all I'm able to file a green card, will I be able to renew my L1 visa beyond the stipulated 5-year limit?
L-1B, in order to file a green card, you have to go, it's the same as a H-1, so you have to go through the labor certification process. Your company has to file a labor cert, a PERM for you after placing
Mhm.
advertisements, and if there are no applicants that qualify, then they can file the PERM. The entire process of placing advertisements, getting a prevailing wage, filing the PERM, getting
Mhm.
an approval, takes about 2 years. The PERM itself takes about a year. The total
Right.
time is 2 years. Once that gets approved, then you can file, your company has to file an I-140. And then that'll be in EB2 or EB3 category. So you have to wait for the priority date to
Mhm.
become available before you can actually file a green card. So your
Right.
question with reference to whether you can maintain an L1 visa, no, because that possibility is there only for a H1. So if you have an I-140 approved, you can file for extensions beyond the 6-year period only for a H1,
Mhm.
not for an L1. So you'd have to then convert to a H1 and then continue to, work on a H1 until, your priority date becomes available, and continue to file extensions on the H1 beyond 6 years, um, based on your I-140 approval.
Right. Right. Well, patience is virtue, I would say, Amarjeet, and there's nothing impossible. So you might as well go ahead with it and definitely get an attorney. I'm sure you will be directed on the right path. Moving on now, let's take up another question. This is from Heli on YouTube. Could you share examples of industries similar to mine where the L-1A visa has been pivotal in successful global expansions? What made these ventures particularly successful?
So, what industry? She doesn't say what her industry is.
Hmm. Similar to mine.
So, can you specify what your industry is, Helly?
Yes, Heli, please specify what is your industry. Um, Maybe then we can take this up. We will come back to you, Heli.
Right. Otherwise, we'll just answer it in general without specifying the
Yes.
industry.
All right, let's take up another one. Let's wait for Heli to come back. Okay, Alikia is asking, applying for an L-1A visa to transfer to my company's US office. I'm worried about the potential delays. What are the most common reasons for RFEs in L-1A applications, and how can I avoid them?
I think we've gone through this many
Yes,
times during the course of this webinar, but if you want to, I can mention a few pointers again.
that'll be great.
The common reasons are, well, it could be any number of reasons, but most often they will send an RFE for that because they're not convinced that the duties are executive or managerial.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly it's that is the reason. If you're submitting all the other documents like you should, most often than not, they will send an RFE on that particular subject of whether it's managerial or not, because most people will just send us job description and expect USCIS will be to be happy with that, and
Mm-hmm.
we know that they're not, so they will ask for documentary evidence to show that the person is actually performing those duties.
Mm-hmm.
So to whatever extent possible, we have to show examples of each um, job that they're performing with reference to the company, how they're doing it, rather than just giving a job description. Give examples of how they're performing it. Give documentary evidence as examples of them performing that particular job. For example, um, if you are supervising other employees, then you would have to show documentation that you are actually supervising them. It could be
Mm-hmm.
that you give examples, of course, of how you supervise your employees, but also you would submit, I guess, performance reviews of them to show that you review their work. You would
Right.
submit recommendations for pay increase. If you do that, you would maybe be signing off on their leave letters because you are supervising them, so you have the authority to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
you would submit that leave letter as proof that the person is actually doing that. So that's an example of documentary evidence you can give in a particular instance. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on the type of case, of course, and what the person is actually doing, but I'm just giving you an example of it.
So it's always best not to confuse the USCIS, and whatever you mention in your application, it's always best to have a document evidence for for everything you've mentioned to play
Correct.
safe, right,
Yeah,
Prashanti?
yes, absolutely. That's one way of avoiding an RFE. And of course, another
Mhm.
way, and which is obvious, is that you make sure that you qualify for the L1 to start
Right.
off with, and make sure you show them proof that you qualify. Again, they can send an RFE if you don't show them the basic documentary evidence that they need to see
Mhm.
with reference to whether there's a qualifying relationship between the companies or not, for example. You have to make sure you submit that. Yeah, so I think those are some of the common reasons and some documents that can be submitted to avoid the RFEs.
Thank you. Thank you. And Alekia, I hope that you have your question answered. Thank you for your question. Thank you for participating. Let's move on to the next question we got, and that is from Dishant. What would be the most effective way to structurally reorganize my current foreign company's ownership and management hierarchy in order to meet the intricate requirements of the L-1A visa category?
I don't know
Considering
what you're, yeah,
there's a
considering
continuation.
okay.
Considering the complexities of my specific situation, such as multiple foreign investors, various subsidiaries, and delicate balance of control and decision making authority. Also, all while ensuring compliance with US immigration laws and regulations. Okay.
Dishant, I definitely you need to talk to an attorney one-on-one. This is not the forum where
Complex
you
situation. It
can
is
get
very complex.
specific answers, but in general, in order to ensure compliance and with reference to your particular problem of, maybe there not being a clear relationship between the companies because there are multiple companies and multiple investors, you have to make sure that there is a clear relationship between the companies. And if there isn't, then you have to make it so. Whether that involves restructuring, then you have to do that.
Mhm.
But it has to be, um, you know, either you qualify or you don't. So it's a question of whether you qualify or not, and going into the specifics of it with your attorney, and also making sure that you're able to provide documentary evidence.
Very important. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Deshant. And Heli is back. Thank you, controller, for saying that. And so Heli's saying that information technology industry, software development, data analysis, cloud computing. And the question was, let's go back to the question. Could you share examples of industries similar to these kinds, where the L-1A visa has been pivotal in successful global expansions? And what made these ventures particularly successful? Okay.
Um, it doesn't seem to be an immigration question. It's basically what Hallie is
Mm-hmm.
talking about, how these industries can be successful in global expansion, um, and what made them successful. Hallie, this is an immigration show, so if you can ask your question related to the immigration part of it, if you have some questions related to the L1. Um, I guess she's asking similar to mine where the L1A visa has been pivotal. So again, in most industries and in your industry as well, L1A has been used as a tool for companies who are in other countries to move to the US. As I said, immigration is a key part of setting up a business here in the US. And if
Yes.
the person involved in the foreign company uh, is not able to travel or stay in the US, then it's difficult for them to set up a business here, right? By remotely doing that somewhere else or hiring someone else to do it who has no knowledge of the company, the foreign company, right? So you need someone who has knowledge of the foreign company, who has maybe worked in the foreign company in a leading role, so that they can set up a shop here. So L1A allows you to do that, allows you to transfer, your executive or manager level person from the foreign company to the US to help set up the business. So in the L1A, they have a um, separate petition. If you, though the process is the same, they have a separate petition for new companies, meaning that they have separate requirements for new companies, which are different from already established companies. So if you have a new company here, they allow you to still set up a business and transfer your that executive from your parent company or foreign company, um, and so you don't have to show the new company has any business. You don't have to show tax returns. You don't have to show that you've already hired people. So you can show that you're a startup. And by using a business plan to show how you are likely to expand in the future, what your financials will look like a year from now, 5 years from now, how many people you intend to hire to sustain that growth. You can put all that in a business plan, and that's sufficient to get an L1 approved.
Mhm.
As long as you've taken an office space, you have a bank account, and you just have enough money to help you with the initial few months of operation. As long
Right.
as you can show that. So this really, the L1, the way they've structured it, really helps any business, including the IT business, expand into the US. And that's what they want, right? They want businesses to come to the US and to improve the economy and to provide jobs. So that's what the L1 is. Indirectly, that's what they want. That's the purpose of the L1A.
True. So a foolproof plan, I would say. I mean, yes, without any doubt. Let's move on and quickly, maybe, hopefully, we can take up two more questions before we end. This is Ravi asking on YouTube. As per the Edakuni settlement, USCIS needs to adjudicate H4 and H4 EAD applications with H1B petition if filed together as a bundle. But in my case, it's not done. It's been 55 days. H4 EAD is still stuck. And in this case, how to reach USCIS? When we talk to USCIS center, they are saying H4 EAD won't fall in PP.
Yes, I've heard that that's happening, even though the settlement says otherwise. Um, In the past, what I have done is this was premium processing, of course. So I sent them an email saying that as per the blah 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 Deconi settlement, you are obliged to process both cases together, and you have uh, not done that. So please advise, please confirm that you understand what the law is. Basically, telling them what the law is. They have that has been successful, and then they have processed it. So they're trying to get away with not doing it, even though they have agreed to do it. And the
Mhm.
key is to remind them that it has to be done together. And the attorney that is working on the H1 should send them an email or write a letter to them saying that this is what is required under the settlement.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for taking that up for Ravi. And Ravi, thank you for your question. I hope you got your answer. And if you have any more clarifications to make, you can keep commenting or write to Attorney Prashanti directly. You will find her details scrolling on the screen. And moving on, I think this will be our last question of the day. Let's see. So this is from Sarah. If my L-1A visa application is pending, am I allowed to travel internationally or should I remain in my home country until a decision is made?
Well, if you're in your home country and not in the United States, you can travel anywhere. The fact that your L1A visa application has been filed doesn't affect your um, travel plans.
Traveling. Okay. That is for you, Sarah. So you can travel wherever you're willing to. And Heli says, thank you so much for the information provided. Thank you, Heli, also for
Thanks.
participating and for your questions. Um, all right. So last but not the least, okay, we have Mehna asking, as someone considering the L-1A visa for expanding my business globally, what are some creative approaches I might not have considered yet to make the most out of this visa option?
I don't know. I don't know what you've considered and what you haven't. So I think what is best is that you reach out to an immigration attorney. I'll be happy to help you as well so that we can brainstorm what information you already know and what you need to know in order to expand. I think you can take the information that I've given you in this webinar so far, and you might
Right.
have a fair idea after listening to the entire webinar as to who qualifies and who doesn't.
True.
But if there's something that you've missed, we can definitely, you can brainstorm with an attorney to find out what you've missed.
Right, right. And folks out there, this is the second episode. We already had another webinar before this. This was last week on L-1A visa. So I would say definitely check out both these episodes. But every case is different and individual. So I would always say, yes, consult an expert, consult an attorney, and you can directly consult none other than Attorney Prashanti Reddy. Her details are on the screen. You can call her on the number 212-354-1010 and email her at prashanti at readyesq.com or visit her website, readyesq.com. Prashanti, it has been really great having you today. A very insightful session, and thank you for taking up all these questions from me and the viewers as well. And thank you for discussing everything today and also last week on L-1A visas.
Thank you. It's been fun talking about the L1A visa petition. It's such an important petition to know about that a lot of businesses don't make use of it, is what I feel. It's underused. So yeah, it's definitely great to, get that information out there.
True, true, Prashanti. And I'll say thank you once again. It was such an honor and a pleasure to have you with us here. I hope you have a great Wednesday ahead, and I hope to see you again next week.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye. And viewers out there, thank you so much for, all your questions and for tuning in today, for your engaging questions. It was really, really very nice. Not just today, even all the previous webinars we've had. I would always, appeal that please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already yet, and share also with your friends and folks who would benefit from this content. It's all about immigration and jobs. Our handle is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And also, we have a very, very exciting news, for folks out there, especially in India, who are looking for jobs. This is a work from home. Uh, as a remote personnel, all you need to do is work for 2 hours per day, and you will be paid a monthly salary of 5,000 rupees. And you also have more opportunity, because every meeting you attend, you'll be earning 500 Indian rupees, and you have the opportunity to earn up to 20,000 Indian rupees per month. So 5,000 uh, I mean, definite, but you can earn more than that. So apply now. You can email your resumes to sravanthi.chodavarapu, which is displayed on the screen, at higheritpeople.com, SRAVANTHI dot CHODAVARAPU at higheritpeople.com. So your responsibilities would be to manage social media posts, create engaging content, respond to messages, monitor analytics, conduct research, and also do data entry. And I think you should definitely apply. This is very, very exciting. And we have about 200 um, vacancies, you can say. So apply, friends. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And we have more webinars coming in. So hopefully you tune in, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this content. Thank you so much. This is Nipasa Pradhan signing off for now. Y'all out there have a great Wednesday ahead. And are you looking for a flexible work from home opportunity? We've got just the thing for you. Work just 2 hours a day and earn a monthly pay of 5,000 Indian rupees plus 500 Indian rupees for every meeting you attend. Earn up to 20,000 Indian rupees per month. Your responsibilities will include managing social media posts, creating engaging content, responding to messages, monitoring analytics, conducting research and data entry. All you need is your own computer, a reliable internet connection, knowledge of LinkedIn, basic English writing skills, ability to work independently, Aadhaar card, ability to use your real name on social media. Ready to join us? Email swapnil@staffinglyhealthcare.com to apply. Don't wait. Join us today and start your journey towards a flexible and rewarding work from home career.